In this video, we will show you how to replace your front dust shield on this Toyota Sienna. This will be located behind your front wheel. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing you need to do is safely raise and support the front of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. Once you've done that, continue on to removing all 5 of your 21mm lug nuts and then the wheel. Now that we have the wheel off, have a quick look at the brakes. We're going to have to disassemble them to gain access. If it looks like they have to be replaced, now's the time to do it. The next thing we'll do, since we have to remove the caliper from the area, is carefully push back our 2 caliper pistons. To push back the caliper pistons, we'll make our way inside of these ports, use a small pry bar, and gently pry against the caliper and the rotor, forcing it to the outward position, which will push in the pistons. Once you have movement from this area, we'll move along the back side, removing the 2 caliper bracket mounting bolts. With those out of the way, a quick inspection of the pads and we'll hang the entire thing aside, putting no pressure on the flex hose. Looking along the back side here, you're going to find 2 17mm headed mounting bolts holding this in place. There's one down bottom, one just above it. We'll start with the top. Fully remove that bolt, a quick inspection, start it back in, just a couple threads to hold this in place while we continue removing the lower bolt. A quick inspection of those brake pads, as I had mentioned. If it looks like they're worn or damaged in any way, go ahead and replace your front brakes. The next thing we'll do is just go ahead and set this aside, as I mentioned, making sure we put no pressure on our flex hose. We don't want to cause any damage to that. Now we should be able to remove the rotor from the area. Just give it a quick inspection. I will be replacing the brakes on this vehicle. Let's get the backing plate off of here by removing 4 10mm headed mounting bolts. You can see 2 out in the open over here. The other 2 are on the opposite side. We'll start with this upper one. Start that back in just a couple threads. Make our way down to this forward one. Make our way to the other 2. At this point, you can see this is freely moving around. We'll fully remove that first mounting bolt that we had started in a couple threads. Slide this right out of place. There it is, friend. Before we can install our backing plate, The next thing I always like to do is use some anti-seize inside of each one of the mounting bolt ports. Let's get ready to install our backing plate. Now when we go to install this, we're going to have to gently try to stretch this a little bit so we can slide it over the steering knuckle. Just requires a little bit of pressure here. Once you do have it in place, start in each one of the mounting bolts, but don't tighten any of them up until all of them are started. Once you have them started, you can go ahead and snug them up. The torque for these is 73 inch-pounds. Once you have that torqued, double check to make sure it's completely secured in the proper placement. Before we continue putting the brakes back together, it's important to make sure you clean up the mating surfaces between your wheel bearing hub and the back side of the rotor. To do this, we can use a wire brush or even a small piece of sandpaper. Once you have both of those areas cleaned up, use some anti-seize on the mating surface. Now we'll install our brake rotor. Hold that in place with one of your original lug nuts. Now we can get the caliper with bracket in place. We'll reinstall our mounting bolts. For these, I'll be using some blue thread lockers, start them in by hand, and torque them to 77 foot-pounds. Double check to make sure the flex hose is not twisted, which could restrict brake fluid flow. This looks perfect. We'll get this lug nut off of here, reinstall the wheel. Start on all 5 of your 21mm lug nuts. We'll bottom these out, get the wheels safely back down on the ground, and we can torque these to 76 foot-pounds. With the wheels safely on the ground, we'll be torquing these in a crisscross manner. Torqued. Okay friend, we showed you how to install one side of your front backing plates. The process for one side of the vehicle is the exact same thing as the other. Once you've completed that, you want to make your way into the passenger compartment and pump up that brake pedal till it's nice and firm. Take your vehicle for a road test and listen for funny noises. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.